The Court of Appeal has rejected former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak's appeal to set aside his conviction for misappropriating 42 million ringgit from SRC International. Last July, the Kuala Lumpur High Court sentenced Najib to 12 years in prison and fined him 210 million ringgit after he was found guilty by Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali of 7 charges involving the former 1MDB unit. In a unanimous decision today, Court of Appeal judges Datuk Abdul Karim Abdul Jalil, Datuk Has Zanah Mehat and Datuk Wazir Alamaidin Mira upheld the High Court's verdict, saying there was no error in the lower court's judgment. They also said that the SRC project, which had started off as a national interest venture, ended up as a national embarrassment. They granted a stay of execution while Najib appeals to the federal court. This means he will not have to serve his sentence in jail or pay his fine until his final appeal is disposed of. At a virtual press conference after the hearing, Najib voiced his disappointment with today's outcome and maintained that he did not know nor did he ask for the monies to be diverted from SRC to his personal bank account. Asked if he could contest in the next general election in view of the Court of Appeal's decision, he said he will cross the bridge when we come to it. His criminal trials aside, the Pekan MP is also fighting 4 civil suits, all centred around 1MDB. Serba Dinamik Holdings is seeking to recuse the judge in its lawsuits against Bursa Malaysia Securities. The oil and gas firm applied for the recusal of Justice Datuk Ahmad Fairuz Zainul Abidin on the grounds that he had in the past served in Securities Commission Malaysia or SC. Serba Dynamic noted in its written submission that Justice Ahmad Fairuz previously served as Executive Director of Enforcement in the SC in 2012, before serving as SC Deputy Chief Executive in March 2016. Lawyer Mak Lingkam, who appeared for Serba Dynamic, argued before the Kuala Lumpur High Court that there exists real danger of bias as a result. He said the judge may be perceived to have a favourable view on the SC and Bursa Malaysia's actions, which were conducted by former staff or colleagues of the judge during his SC days. The submission also pointed to a raid conducted by the SC on Serba Dynamic and the fact that the Commission is conducting an investigation into the company. It also raised the SC's watching brief status in the hearing. In response, lawyer Datuk Loh Siu Chiang, who appeared for Bursa Malaysia, submitted that the SC is not a party to the originating summons filed by Serba Dynamic amid the special independent review fiasco. He said it is compellingly natural for the SC, as the chief regulator of the capital markets, to take an interest in the proceedings as an observer. The lawyer also argued that the grounds offered by Serba Dynamic are conjectures or surmises. Christopher Leong, the lawyer holding the watching brief for the Commission, also interjected to point out that Serba Dynamic had no objection when the SC's request to hold the watching brief was made previously, and said it was anomalous for the firm to use this as ground for recusal. Gamuda is targeting 10 billion ringgit new order book for FY22, Bernama reports, with its eye on reclamation works for the Penang South Island project and projects in Australia. Gamuda Engineering MD Justin Ching Jing Ho said the group has an outstanding construction order book of 4.5 billion ringgit, which will last for the next 2 years. Its short-term focus, he said, will be replenishing this order book in a few target markets. At a virtual press conference today, Chin said the group is awaiting the results of 2 tenders for projects in Australia that should come up in the next 1 or 2 quarters, and is targeting up to 4 new tenders in the Australian market next year. Moving forward, Chin said Gamuda has been actively bidding for a number of projects down under and targeting an order book of 5 billion ringgit to 6 billion ringgit in the next 2 years. It is also looking to expand its base of 4 ongoing projects secured in the last 2 years in Taiwan and Singapore. At the close, Gamuda's share price rose 3.6% to RM2.92 for a market capitalization of 7.34 billion ringgit. Top Glove Corp is aiming to complete its proposed listing on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange by the first quarter of 2022, after getting the go-ahead for the plan from its shareholders. In a statement, the company said 84.5% of its shareholders voted in favour of the resolutions backing its dual primary listing. It is aiming to raise some 3.68 billion Hong Kong dollars or 1.99 billion ringgit from the exercise, which was delayed as it sought to resolve a ban on its products by the US over forced labour claims. The company could raise about 4.24 billion Hong Kong dollars or 2.3 billion ringgit if the over-allotment option is fully exercised. Separately, TA Securities says it is expecting the glove maker's first quarter FY22 earnings to come in 50.7% to 63.8% lower from the immediate preceding quarter due to the lower average selling price of gloves and windfall tax. Analyst Tan Kong Jin sees quarterly profit totaling between 220 million ringgit and 300 million ringgit, down from 607.9 million ringgit for the fourth quarter of FY21. On a year-on-year basis, Tan expects Top Glove's net profit to plunge by 87.4% to 90.7% from 2.4 billion ringgit in the first quarter of FY20. All in all, he says Top Glove's first quarter FY22 results should miss consensus estimates at about 14.7% of the 1.8 billion ringgit profit forecast for FY22. Top Glove is due to release its results this Friday. Its shares closed 2.4% lower today at 2 ringgit 44, valuing the company at about 20 billion ringgit. Credit reporting agency Criss Digital has acquired an additional 3.5% stake in bond rating firm Rem Holdings, in a move which will enable the two companies to leverage each other's expertise in areas including credit assessment and data. According to its statement to Bursa Malaysia today, Criss, which already owned an estimated 4.6% stake in Rem, said it inked a deal with Standard Chartered to buy the stake, comprising 350,000 shares in Rem for 7.61 million ringgit. The purchase consideration for the proposed acquisition shall be wholly satisfied by cash proceeds raised for new acquisitions from Criss's recent initial public offering. The acquisition announced today means Standard Chartered will no longer own any shares in Rem. According to Rem's website, Oscar Matrix is its largest shareholder with a 19.9% stake, followed by S&P Global Asian Holdings with a 19.2% stake. At 7.61 million ringgit, Criss's acquisition translates into a price per share of 21 ringgit 74 cent, valuing Rem at 217.4 million ringgit. At the close, Criss's share price was 2.3% higher at 1 ringgit 77, valuing the company at about 3.8 billion ringgit.